cover tonight is on my YouTube channel. Back in 2020, we had our 4 clubs get together. I did a demo on Zoom. It's about 2 hours long. It's a lot longer than one is tonight, but it's got more information that we're going to cover tonight. My YouTube channel is really hard to remember. It's Woodturning with Jack, all one word. Just go to YouTube, type in Woodturning with Jack, and you can always call back to the basics. We're going to cover that. So the first thing I want to cover with you is lathe safety. Okay? When you walk up to your lathe, the first things you ought to do, number one, is you ought to check to see what speed your belt's on. And I haven't done that yet, so we're going to take a look at it. Because you need torque, it should be on low speed, but if you're going to turn the spindle, it should be on high speed, and I'm on torque speed, so I'll have to change that. The next thing you should do is make sure this little cone button back here called restart or speed controller is all the way down, because that one was all the way up. So I will share a little story about that real quick. Somebody at Florida Woodturning supposedly demonstrated did not do that, but it wood on here, flip the dome. It did just shaky, bouncy, and the wood came off and threw a monitor, scared out a bunch of people. But I understand they scattered like a bunch of rats, but anyway. So that's something you ought to do. The next thing you ought to do is you ought to make sure that your headstock is locked down good tight. It's not going to slide if you move it around. And then we'll get to mounting your piece of wood here in just a second when we change this around. I should have already done this, and I didn't. That's okay. And don't pinch yourself. All right, so now we know our headstock's tight, we know the speed's turning down, know that I'll flip it on, and I'll bring the speed up, it's going to run. But if I start there, I'm not going to tear anything apart. Now, for beginners, well, let me tell you what I'm talking about. If you want your lathe to work properly, like this, when you finish with it at the end of the day, you should clean your bedways. Because everything you turn, whether it's wet wood or dry wood, has some form of sap in it. And that's going to get on your bedways. They may not be rusty. You may have a fancy stainless steel American Beauty, but if you get sap on your bedways, this thing's going to stick. And it's not going to adjust very well. And this thing's going to stick. This one sticks anyway. And it's not going to adjust anymore. So you should clean it. And probably if you have this type, you should put a little oil. This one doesn't get taken care of quite as good because when I get home, I'm tired and I'm not going to do that every time. We have solid session on Saturday, it gets done now. So that covers that. That's the safety on the lathe. Other than when you start it, be out of the way. Don't be standing in front of it. Now we're going to cover some personal safety. At the very least, you should be wearing some safety glasses, which I'm fixing to put on. This is kind of the very minimum to save your eyes. When we demonstrate, or when I have new turners, we wear a safety shield. You need a shield that's approved for an impact. That means those little thin things that you can buy that keep sparks out of your eyes. If a 10-pound piece of wood can fly out here and hit you in the face, they're not going to work very well. You need one that's substantial enough to stop an impact. You need something to protect your lungs. I consider this very minimum. Okay, it's a, I don't know if an idea, you can pass this around.
Dusty gun.
It's a dusty gun. Charlie, start with you. It's a dusty gun. They come in a couple of different sizes, and they come in large, medium, and small. You can buy online. You can buy them through any of the Woodturning supply places. Yeah, you can buy them from Paula. You have him back there as well? All right, Paula's not here, so you can't buy them. Paula, member of our club, actually owns that company. Anyway, I consider this a bare minimum. The only time I don't wear it is when I'm turning really wet wood. There's no dust coming off of that. If I'm going to turn something that's really dry, or I'm going to sand something that's really dry, I'm going to up that. Okay? I have a full modular system with backpack power, and the nice thing about it in the summertime is it's blowing nice cool air on my face. So it keeps my glasses from fogging up, gives me a little breeze, and it totally protects my lungs. What it doesn't do is protect my lungs from spray and lacquer. If you saw this nice shiny piece up here, that's about 25 coats of lacquer on there, and I'm not done with it. If you want to spray things that have VOCs in them, you're going to need to up your game. This is the bare minimum. This is a 3M, there's several kinds. This is the one I like to wear, because it's the one I wear 50 years while I was repairing cars. Okay, it will stop your VOCs from coming through. It will also stop heavy metals if you guys do any welding like I do. It's kind of a versatile to do it all. The filters on it are interchangeable. They are activated charcoal, so it's not used. Make sure you put the bag and seal it up so they last. All right.
How much something like that cost?
About $40, I think. So, how much does a lung transplant cost?
At least 50.
Look, if you just go to the doctor anymore, it's $300 just to walk in. Stephanie had a telemedicine thing. What was it, $250 for telemedicine? Anyway, okay. So if you're just beginning, guess what? You're going to have catches. I'm going to demonstrate some of those for you in a little while. Some of them will be on purpose and some of them won't. You get to guess. This is called cup center. You see what it looks like right there? You see it doesn't have any teeth or anything on it? This is what you're going to get when you buy a lathe. You're going to get something that looks like that. I don't recommend you start with that. The reason I don't recommend you start with that is because it bites into the wood. It holds the wood very firmly. It gives you good drive. But if you get a massive cast, that wood's going to split out and this thing's going to fly off. I'll get a cast with you. With this one, you'll find out all it's going to do is spin. So, we're going to use it. Live centers also won't grab. You notice I've already put a mark here in the end so that I can put this piece of wood on here. So let's get started. If you have questions, my ears work. That's why I got my hearing aids back. So just yell, and I'll attempt to answer your question. I'll even attempt to give you the correct answer, if I know it. If I don't, I may just make it up. All right, so we got it nice and tight. Our tail sock's good and tight, our head sock's tight, our piece of wood's tight. I'll loosen it up just a little, and you can see this. See that stem? That's what you want. And even if I tighten them down, at some point in time, you can pull it out of my hand, like right there. But if I stick a tool in there nice and tight, it will span. So, the first tool you should run on is a tool to make that square piece round. I have two of them here. Spindle walking gouges. I'm going to see how these. Spindle walking gouges. This one's got a 45-degree angle on it, on the end, okay? I specifically use it for removing bark, big pieces, where it's going to be filling a bunch of stuff because it's got a nice big deep flute in it, and I can stand over here, and I can sit all that mess somewhere else, and sit on me, okay? This one has got a 40-degree angle, it's a little bit sharper, okay? It'll work fine on those things. It doesn't work as well if you're trying to really piece of hardwood. You need a little bit more aggressive than this one. So let's make it round. We'll start with this one, we'll go to the other one.
Jack, did you just for your bit?
Oh, I did bring it, didn't I? Where'd we go to? Another safety item right here I'm going to tell you about, folks. Did he go all the way in the back? Everybody get to see it? Okay. Safety item that I discovered a number of years ago. You don't want to put your clothes in the wash with wood chips in them, because that means when things come out of the wash that don't belong to you, that belong to the other person in the house and they have wood chips in them, you're going to hear about it. It may sit nicely and it may not. I watched a lovely person, so it will sit very nicely. That's why I usually put this on. Okay. So you just run it into turn. You got a piece of wood on here. I'm using a real soft piece of pine. I'll tell you this now, when you're running, if you'll go down and you'll buy you an 8-foot long piece of 2x4, cheap pine, preferably without notch, you split it down the middle, you cut it into about 10 or 12 inch pieces. By the time you get through the whole 2x4 with the tools I'm going to show you, you'll be competent enough to go make you a bow. Okay? We don't start, or I don't start training people making bows because that's the way I started. I turned my first bow in 1967. I I didn't turn again until about 20 years ago. I turned about 20 or 30 bowls, and then I decided I wanted to learn to turn spindles. It's a lot harder that way, folks. It's much easier to learn to spindle properly before you move into bowls. So if you're one of the people that want to learn bowls, decide if you want to be a wood turner or a bowl turner. If you want to be a bowl turner, turn bowls. If you want to be a wood turner, learn to turn spindle. We're going to do ABCs. A is we're going to anchor the tool on here. We've adjusted the tool rest so that this tool meets this piece of turning stock about in the middle. Okay? So this cutting edge here should be somewhere in the middle. It's still a little bit high. Now, the height I'm putting this tool rest is for me. Okay? I'm way up here nice and high. And I got this where I want it. If somebody that's shorter than me comes up here, Dr. Bowe steps up here, he's a little bit shorter than I am, 2 or 3 inches. He's going to need to adjust this tool rest down so that the tool also meets in the center. So the center is not the same for everybody. So if you sit here and you put a collar on this and you drop this so it's the center for you, if somebody else comes in and turns your leg, it may not work as well. Okay, this is called cash. Okay, that's what you're going to try to avoid. So we're just going to make it round. We're going to start off with what's called the ABCs. They are, we're going to anchor the tool. We're going to find the bevel. Now, we're not going to find the bevel just yet very well because this piece of wood got corners on it, okay? Let's take it down a little bit and I'll show you. This is my last. Now I can show you what I just did. I put this tool up here on the tool rest, and I made sure it was all the way down. If you don't get it on this tool rest to start with, that finger right there is going to have a big blood blister on it, at the very least. Don't ask me how I know this, okay? The tool gauge is there. Then I'm going to put it up on the bevel, and I'll slow it down just a little bit so you can see this. See, that tool is not cutting right there. It's right on this bevel. The cutting edge is not engaged. As I raise the handle in the back, see it start to cut? Right there. That's where I want to be. Right here. I hand that tool back and forth. So, anchor, bevel, raise the handle, it starts to cut. Now, if you'll notice, it's got a lot of nasty tear in it. The reason it's got that tear out is because I'm presenting this tool right perpendicular to the way this grain is running. So it's having to cut 2 parts of that fiber at the same time. Imagine it's like this and the tool's going there, just make sure it's going there just like that. It's cutting this side and this side all at the same time, so you're not getting a clean cut. If I take this tool and I turn it sideways just a little bit, so I'm only cutting one side of it, that's kind of slow, so you're not really going to see it. See how much better that is than this down here? It's a much better cut. Now, if I go to a little bit sharper tool with a different angle on it, and we'll talk about some of these angles here in a little while, I turn my speed up, and I do it the same side. See the tool starting to bounce right there? I know what the bounce. When the bounces, I need to slow it down. One of the reasons it bounces is because I get too hard on the bevel. So what happens is the cutting edge is not cutting as well, and whatever part of the fibers there gets past the cutting edge, it hits the bevel, and it makes it start to bounce. And once it starts doing that, it's going to continue to do that. And you're not going to get a nice clean cut. So if you start to get a bounce, okay, and it starts bouncing on you like that. What you want to do is you want to come off the bevel a little bit and get it down on the edge. Now, all you carvers are going to know this, but when we're turning a piece of wood, we want to be cutting what we call downhill. We want to be cutting into the grain and not up the grain. If I take my pocket knife out and I cut it with this grain, I don't have a problem. If I turn it around and I try to cut back up what I just cut, I'm going to get that tear out, okay? It's going to grab, and I'm not going to get this clean cut. Now, sometimes this piece doesn't have really straight grain in it, so no matter where I turn it, I'm going to be going uphill some places, downhill some places, so I'm not going to get quite as good cut. Does anybody have any questions before I move this around a little bit? Everybody understand how the tool works? Notice when I come in here with the tool, I got it on the rest. I'm going to find that bevel point right here with my head, and I'm going to raise it up, and I'm going to hold that tool right there. That's my body. This is my body. See what my body's doing? I'm not trying to do this. My whole body's going with this tool. And that's not as smooth as I'm going to get that, which is not very smooth. Okay. So we talked about that. That's the first thing that you need to learn. So if you're a new turner, go buy that 2x4, cut it into pieces, make them all round. Okay? I want to, milk crate, make them all round, and then you can come back and go to step 2. Step 2 is beads and coves. They are generally done with a spindle gouge, and I have a variety of spindle gouges up here to show you. Now,
Right over the piece of wood.
some of the you beginning turners are not going to follow all of this. Some of you more veteran turners will. There's a 3/8 and a half inch spindle gouge. Both of them have the heel roll off of them.
No, down, towards you, towards you.
Right over the top.
Okay, I'll look up, I can see that. Both of them have the heel roll off. See right there? That's because I learned a few years ago that you can get in a lot tighter places if you don't have that heel. Same thing, a little bit different gouge. Same thing again. Now this one's slightly different than this one. And the differences are over.
Towards you.
You see the difference in how pointed they are? This one's more pointed than this one is down here. Sort of sharpened with the point, a little bit further swept back, a little bit different angles. They're all sharpened here at about an angle of 30 degrees. Somewhere about there. There's 30 degrees,
Over the wood.
and there's what you got. Okay? And you can see the heel rolling off of it. So I sharpen them all about 30 degrees. I sharpen the back side of it a little bit different. Don Geiger actually polishes the back of his. I'm too lazy to do that. He's a master at doing this and I'm not. So. All right. So we're going to start with next with making a cove. It's one of the fundamental building blocks that we start with to learn to turn. So let's say we're going to make a cove about that wide. Okay, we'll make another one down here. Now, I'll pass this around. This is all practice I did today. just so I didn't make a total fool out of myself and all. But you can see it's not like practice. And I did that on purpose. Everything takes a little practice. If you don't practice, you won't make mistakes. And I don't want to see mistakes because I want to talk about them when we make them. And if I don't make them by accident, I'll make some on purpose. You get the yes. Now say I want to put a cove here. In order to put a cove, I need my tool pointed at the center, okay, of the piece. And what's going to happen is I'm going to set it with the flute straight up and down. Hang on, I lost something. I don't see it, because I got a rubber band here. We'll see if we put a rubber band on.
Jack?
Yes.
Explain flute.
Okay. There's your bevel right there we talked about. Right there, there's your bevel, okay? There's your cutting edge. This flute is here. It helps discharge the wood. It allows you to make different profiles on the end of this tool. Okay, you'll see, this is a standard spindle gouge. It has a fairly, not really a shallow flute, it's kind of a medium flute. If you get into a heavy bowl gouge, and I'll get to that maybe in a little while, you'll find this got a different type of fluid in it, okay? It helps you use the tool, it also helps you to be able to direct the discharge of the waste coming out of it. If I get this rubber band on here, you will have a better idea what I'm doing.
Bless you.
Oh, we have success. All right. So there's my flute right there. Okay? If I'm going to make a cove, I want you to imagine that you're going to dig a ditch. That's what you're going to do. If you stick the shovel in too deep into the dirt, you got too much dirt, you can't get it out. If you stick it in too flat, you don't get any dirt at all. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're actually going to use this in this manner right here. I'm going to enter this wood with this flute straight up and down, because here's what's going to happen if I don't. If I enter with it crooked like this, watch what it's going to do. See it? If I enter with it like that, it's going to go that way. So in order for it to go, to not stay around, I've got to have this straight up and down perfectly. Okay? So if I want to make a cove right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start not on the lines, but a little bit inside the lines, and I'm going to start removing some material, because I have to have material out of the way to be able to shape the cove. So if we straight up and down, I'm going to start right here. The tip of my gouge is going up straight at the center of my wood, and then I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to push it up, okay? Now, if you notice, at the same time, I'm dropping my handle. So I'm going to start with the tool pointing at the center. As it starts to open up, I'm going to drop the handle down. If I don't, I'm not going to be able to cut this wood off. I'm not going to be able to stay on bell. I'm going to tear it out, which is really what I did there, because this thing's getting in my way. You see, I'm going to be able to do this for you. Going to make it a little awkward here, I'll do it. All right, straight up down right there, drop it, just like that. And we'll get the idea of this, we need to keep that on the way. And we'll get to us, I envision when I figure it out. Okay, let's put one down here. Hold it, so let's drop it. And scoop it out, I'll do that. And you see what to do? I'm doing three things at one time. I'm rotating the tool, I'm dropping the handle, and I'm bringing the tool into the wood. If I don't do them all three together, I'm not gonna get a good clean cut. You may have noticed that these sides of this cove right here are not straight up and down. The reason they're not straight up and down is because I'm holding the tool straight like this, and the cut is always made at the angle of the bevel. So that bevel right there, if you can see it, is pointing that way. So that cut right there is going to go that way. If I want to go straight in here, I have to bring this tool around here, so that the bevel points to the center of the wood, how it is. Okay, bring it around here. Bring it over here. And now you can make a cove with sides straight up and down. Yes, Elijah?
What happens if you don't rotate the tool as you go in?
It doesn't, you stay on the tip.
Yeah, if you keep it vertical, zero.
You gotta open the tool up to cut. The tool cannot cut. It's like you put your pocket knife right there, it's not gonna do anything. You got to rotate it. So, it has to be part of it. You just have to clean this up a little bit. Because I did this.
Remember, they're not gonna DNA test the wood shavings.
Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah.
Blame it on the carpers.
Blame it on the carpet. So, making a cove starts off vertical, yes, Don?
Could you demonstrate getting off the bevel with the roughing gouge?
I think I just have already, I can demonstrate it.
You explained it on the
Yeah.
bevel.
So, being on the bevel, okay, allows the tip to be controlled. If anybody ever looked at the chainsaw blade, you know that little drag tooth behind the cover? That keeps that chain from digging in too deep. When you come off the bevel, okay, this tool digs in. And here's what you get, I'll just show you. Here's what you get. Okay, now as I rotate that tool around, you see it starts to get cleaner right there. So maybe I can demonstrate it a little bit different, but let me go on here and roll the beach for you, and I'll back up and explain something else to you. So, let me turn this down, the screw down. Here's what happens when you get off the bevel. It becomes a scraper. It's no longer see the nasty cut it's giving you. I brought, I don't know, a dozen tools up here. There's only 3 ways that we remove wood when we wood turn. All the tools that we own, if I take every tool that everybody owns in here, it's only gonna take wood off 3 different ways. We're gonna cut it off. That requires a tool that has a bevel and a cutting edge like a pocket knife, okay? So, if I take my pocket knife out and I do this, I'm cutting the wood off. The next way I can remove wood is I can turn it blade like this and I can scrape it off. The next way I can do is I can try and cut it off or scrape it off and get it at an angle where the blade digs in like that and then you have a catch, and you tear it off. So you can cut it off, you can scrape it off, or you can tear it off. Now, if you have a cutting tool, so we've established that we've got two kinds of tools, tools that cut wood off and tools that scrape wood off, and all of them will tear wood off. So you want to, if we have a cutting tool, okay, remember I told you that's 30 degrees, if it's touching the wood here, it's not doing anything, it's on that bevel. You see that right there? It's on that bevel. As I pull that tool out, and that point gets closer to the cutting edge, at some point, and let me do it like this, because I got more control over it. At some point, it starts to cut. See it cutting there? If that tool gets too much off, then it digs in, like that right there. And that's where you get your catch. So this tool is safe here. You can't get a catch. To here, where it starts to cut. If you go beyond, say if it's 30 degrees, I get out here 33, 34, 35 degrees, I'm going to get a catch. Okay, when I get to scrapers, you're going to see the exact opposite scrapers. So, scraper works differently. So, we did our cove, we entered the wood with our flutes vertical, we advanced the tip, we dropped the handle. Okay, we rotated the tool over, just like that. Just like I was standing out here with a shovel and I wanted to dig a ditch with a straight side, went into the edge and I scooped down a little dirt the other side. I rotated it back and forth and just scooped out a little dirt. And that's the way I remember, okay? Digging a cove, digging a ditch. If I want to roll a bead, the first thing I have to do is make sure that I have room on both sides. And I do, so we're going to roll right there even though it's all torn up. We're going to roll a bead, we're going to kind of do the opposite. We started here, we're going to end here on a bead. We ended here on a cove, we're going to start here on a bead. So to do a bead, I'm going to lay my tool on the tool rest. I'm going to find my bevel right here, and I'm going to rotate that tool. As I pull this tool back, see it starts to cut right there? That tool's come back to it for me. If I just put it straight back, it won't stay on the wood, so the handle's got to come up. So stay on it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that tool just like that. Okay? Same thing over here. Start up here. The handle comes up, as the tool comes back, I catch it right there, and I rotate the tool, just like that, and I hang it right there, vertical. That's the way I get my bead. So they're almost exactly opposite of each other. And the only way you can get them good is to practice. So, let me move down here, clean this up a little bit, and we'll do it, you all. I really did pick a crummy piece of wood. Let me interject something here that I hadn't said earlier. If you do it differently than I do and it works for you, that's great. This is the way I do it. It's the way I teach it. It's not the only way to do it. It may not even be the best way to do it. It just happens to work for me. Okay, so I'm going to go to a different spindle gouge. This one's got a tighter point on it. And I'm going to roll a couple of beads. Let's see if we can I always, about this point, I also tell people, remember I learned to turn bowls and not spindles? I still don't turn a lot of spindles. The closest thing I turn to spindle is I occasionally turn a finial, and I make a lot of hollow forms, which are kind of big spindles, I guess. So this is not the greatest thing I do. All right, let's roll some beads. In order to roll a bead, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to get some stuff out of your way, because I can't just roll into this right here okay, I'm gonna go, say, I'm gonna go clean those 2 points, that right there is gonna get in my way. So I'm gonna clean some of that out of my way. Okay? On the tool rest, loops right over just like that, on the top, handle comes up, fork comes down, stays on the wood, you roll it. Same thing, this way, and you roll it. Now you're tempted to watch this tool, but if you want an nice even bead and you're watching the tool, you'll never get it. What you need to be watching is out here, what you're forming. It'll show you as you cut it, you'll see it. You'll see what the outline is so well what you're doing. So let's try another one down here. Let's roll this one right here. Let's get some stuff out of the way here. Alright. Loops open. On there, I start to roll it. Start to do that. It's off just a little bit right there. I don't know if you can see it, just doesn't have quite the same roll. And you can pick it a little bit apart there. There's a pretty good bead. It's nice and smooth, doesn't have any tear out. So obviously I need to practice, I'm getting better. Okay, that's 2 of the things we need to learn how to do. Next thing we need to learn how to do, is pretty easy, is to make a V-cut. Okay, we've done coves, we've done beads. Any questions on those so far? A V-cut is really simple. Elijah asked me earlier, what happens if you don't rotate the tool? Well, it digs straight in. Here it is. We won't rotate it. Easy cut to make, V-cut. I need to explain that any further. Okay, I'm going to show you one other cut. I'm going to show you a peeling cut. Okay? Peeling cut. A cut we use to get rid of wood. Anybody know what this is?
Screw chisel.
A what?
Screw chisel.
Thought it was a door saw.
That's what Don uses them for.
I heard that, but I would never say it in public. No, that's not really true, is it? Okay, peeling cut's really simple. It can be done with several tools. You can do it with the edge of right here, this straight part right here. I prefer to use a skew chisel. It's the same thing. What kind of tool is this? Is it a scraping tool or a cutting tool?
Yes.
Okay, what answer did I want, Larry? It is. It can be either one. And it does a good job, both of them. But we're going to use it as a cutting tool. We're going to use the toe of it. This is the heel, the back part, just like your foot. Heel, toe. We're going to use the toe. We're going to put it on to the wrist, A. We're going to put the bevel up here, B. We're going to raise the heel up to the first foot and then go in. Again, on the two wrist, on the bevel, raise the handle up, first foot. Peeling cut. Which you should do, I do know how to use one of these. That's a skew. It's one of the harder tools to use because it has one of the most acute angles that we use in wood turning. So if you back up and you consider what I just said there, if you have a 60-degree bowl gouge, I think it's easier to use than a 30-degree spindle gouge. A 45-degree spindle roughing gouge is easier to use than the detail gouge that we do these with. That's the reason we start you with that. If I started teaching you with a bowl gouge, okay, I'm really limiting you later to transition into sharper tools. If you learn this tool well, it takes a lot of practice, and you have to keep practicing. That's the problem. I don't practice with it. You will be pretty good with the other tools. So you can do several things with this. You can use the toe of it, and you can cut V with it. It has to be straight up down. You see it run, just like everything else. I put it in there crooked. If you see anything under straight, it's going to run. It has to be straight up down, present it, and you cut a V cut with it. Okay? Great job. You can roll a bead with it, flat on the tool rest, come up, move bevel, find your cutting. It has to cut on the lower half of the tool. If you start cutting, you see where those shavings are coming off right down here? If they start cutting off at the middle or above the middle, it's an instant catch. There's no way around it, because what it's going to do is it's going to catch the tool, it's going to jerk the tool down in your hand, and it's going to dig in. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you get above center, and I like to stay on the bottom third, it's going to give you a catch. So, we'll always stop there. Questions? Those are all cutting tools, okay? They have to be on the bevel to get a good clean cut. If you get off the bevel, which sometimes we do, but it's kind of a more advanced cut, like in some bowls or pie or something, it's going to give you a little rougher cut. Let's go on to a scraper. Now, let's start with this one. Remember I told you that on a cutting tool, it's on the bevel, you come up onto the cutting tip and it cuts, and if you get any further than that, you get a catch, right? Exactly the opposite. This is a scraping tool. It has no bevel. It goes into the wood this way, this angle, and it scrapes the wood off. As you approach 90 degrees, this tool becomes dangerous. If it goes past 90 degrees, you have a catch. So it has to be above horizontal. It needs to be so that you're in the center of the wood. The tool's in the center of the piece of wood. If you're not in the center of the piece of wood, it's either not going to cut or it's going to give you a catch. Okay? It has to be, the handle has to be elevated so that when it touches the wood, if you imagine a tangent to this wood, here's the piece I'm turning. Okay, right here. Here's the piece I'm turning. If you imagine a tangent to this, at 90 degrees is where this tool becomes dangerous.
Towards you.
Okay, limited. So I want to be like this. So if I got this tool pointing at the center of the piece, the handle needs to be above the cutting edge, okay? So raise the handle up just a little bit. Raise the handle up just a little bit, and it's straight. Very easy tool to use. All you ever have to remember is the tool points to the center and the handle is higher than the cutting edge. That's not complicated, folks. But if you drop it down here, if the tool rest is too low and you drop it down here and the edge engages, it's going to give you a massive catch. So they make several different types of scrapers. They make hundreds of types of scrapers. The smart elk in the back with the gray hair over on this side, I won't mention any names there, he said, it's a scraper. Skew chisel. Yeah, it's a scraper. It's a great scraper. Look at that. But, look at what I get. See the grain there? See how it's torn? When I use it as a scraper? Watch when I use it as a skew. But I didn't get it all out. Let me get it all out because I want to make a point here. If you start with 180 grit sandpaper on that, you're hurting yourself because it's sleeper than that already. So if you like the sand, scrapers are great. Now, they are indispensable in some places. Some places, nothing works better than a scraper. One of the places I find that I like them is if you turn a bowl and you get that little undulation, when you make that transition down to the bottom from the wall to the side, you run your hand through it and feel that little leak, and you put your bowl out and you can't quite get it out because you're riding that bevel, and so it hits it, it's come right in, just like going over the hill when you drive your car, doesn't matter how you do it, you come right over, bulldozer, cut the top off. This is negative rate scraper. The only difference in it and a regular scraper is that it's got two sides, it only cuts on one, because it's cutting with a burr. But you don't have to lift the handle, because the handle's already lifted. Remember, on this one, the cutting edge is here, and I want this part up here to be at that angle. On this one, it's already at that angle. So this tool, and that configuration right there are the same tool. You don't have to lift the handle. Much safer tool. Okay, it's really hard to get a catch with one of these unless you just really jammed into wood. But here again, it is also a scraper, okay? And this is really soft wood because it shows up all the mistakes you can make. And it's not bad, it's pretty good. You can start sanding it with, 120 or so, and it can sand out real quick. So this is an easy tool to use, but it will take those undulations out the bottom of the bowl really easy. You just take it and just sweep it across there because it doesn't have to ride on that. So it works really, really well. All right. I have a bunch of other tools up here. Does anybody have any questions about what I've covered so far?
Jack?
Yes.
Explain to him about putting the burr on
Okay.
the scrapers to make the scraper work.
So the scraper, this particular one here has probably, I don't know,
Put it on top of the wood.
I'm gonna guess right here, that angle right there is probably 75, 80 degrees there. In order for it to cut, it has to have a little burr here, okay? And there's several ways to put that little burr there. This one doesn't have much of a burr. There's several ways to do it. When I put this tool into the grinder, and the grinder starts to grind, the wheel starts to grind it this way, it rolls a little bit of that metal back. Okay, use a little here, bit right on top. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can manually put it on there, not as well, with this one won't do it because it's too fine. This is a 600 grit. You can lay up there, find out where that edge is right there. Okay, raise it up just past it and do this. And that'll give you a little bit of a burr, but that's 600 grit. It's really not aggressive enough to do that. The other way you can do it is you can put it on a tool, and I don't remember what they call that thing, yeah, it's got a carbide pin in it, tool lays flat, and you swoop it across this carbide pin that has a slight angle to it and rolls the edge. Okay, you can do that 2 or 3 times, and then you actually need to go kind of true it all up. So, that's just kind of real quick in a nutshell on that. I wanted to cover one other thing, but I don't know that I need to. Does anybody have any questions so far? That's not very in depth. I know it lost some of you. You really have to have a tool in your hand and experience it. When I teach somebody, I show them how to do it. I put a tool in their hand, I help them do it. I walk away, I come back 5 minutes later, they're doing it all wrong, we start over again. Okay? And after about 2 hours, and Don teaches, he'll tell you, there's 4 or 5 people in here that teach, and they'll all tell you the same thing. So, The next thing I want to tell you, and this is more for the more advanced phase, I wanted to cover making a tendon for a piece that's going to be held in the chuck. And the reason I want to cover it is because at the symposium, this was one of the things that Phil Irons covered really well, and it's one of the things that I like to cover when I teach too, because this is pretty safe right here, okay? You know, that's pretty safe. It's not going to come out of there. I tore it up pretty good, and you didn't see it go anywhere. It's loose, and it still won't go anywhere, okay? When you go to other types of holding systems on the lathe, that's not the case. We got it in 2 ends and it's pinned in. So if I were to go to a chuck, okay, to hold my piece, this is a chuck, I have to make what's called a tendon on the end of it for the piece to go in. It has to be strong enough so that the piece stays in. If I'm turning something like this, one of these holophones up here, that's 8 or 10 or 12 inches tall, and it's supported at this end, and it's not supported down here because I'm having to haul it, it has to be pretty secure here. And it's easy to make a tendon. It's much harder to make a tendon that's really secure. So, I'm going to make it short, I'm going to take about 10 minutes to explain it. I took it out this time. You guys should have said something. I'm almost embarrassed that you didn't say something. Okay, so let's start off with making tendon. I'll put this in here. Find me something here. This is for my turners that already know how to turn. I covered you beginning guys. If I'm going to make a tendon on that piece, say I want to turn a hollow form out of it. Obviously, I'm going to true it up a little bit. And I'm just going to true this end up a little bit. I'm going to square this end off just a little bit. So I got a square end down here. This is a big mark chuck. Okay? If I want to put this piece into a chuck, the first thing that I want to be able to do, and I call this the 3 S's. First thing I want to do is I want the biggest jaw that I can use on this piece. Obviously, if I bought a chuck with a 3-inch jaw, I could put this piece in. If I bought a smaller chuck with a 30mm jaw, it wouldn't be sufficient enough to hold it. So this is the one we're going to go for. This is the one that fits the best. So the first thing I want to do is select a chuck with a jaw that has the maximum that my piece can use, okay? The next thing I want to do, my next step is I want to make a tendon size. I want this tendon, when this chuck is made, okay, this is machined round, and then it's cut into pieces. So somewhere, about right there, that chuck is perfectly round. You got the curve for whatever they cut it, whether it was a saw blade or, you know, some type of metal bandsaw, I don't know how they're made. But I knew that curve. Now that piece would be perfectly round. The closer I get this to that without the jaws collapsing, the more contact this particular chuck is gonna have with the wood. So the more hold I'm gonna have on the wood. So I want to end up with something about that size, so I want to, there's several ways to do it. You can use it with a caliper, okay? But if you're making a lot of them, this is something I made probably 15 years ago. It's an aluminum ruler, okay? It sits right there, it's got a V-groove in it, it sits right there. And it has a series of holes in it. Did you bring one, Harold? Harold got some out of wood on his laser thing. You should bring some in when you sell them. Anyway, so these are my different jaws. These are 3 big marks that I use the most, and that's a Nova, and I think one of them's a Strong or something else. So this is the 120 right here, so this is the one I want to use on this wood. So all I have to do to get the size of my tenon, slow this thing down a little bit, set that right there, slide that right there, and there it is. I know what size to go to. So let's turn to that side right there. This is a variation of that pin that you saw earlier. You notice I got the flute wide open, coming in on this wing right here. This is a bow gouge I'm using, okay? Now what I want to do is I want this piece to sit on the top of his jaws. I don't want the bottom to go all the way to the bottom. So I can't make it too long, but I want to make it as long as I can. So, right here, if you'll notice, there's a notch. So I think it's this one though. I can approach that notch as long as I don't go longer than it, and I'll have it fitting correctly. Also, I want the center touch, so I can make another good cut on it.
Show that notch again, right in the middle of the wood.
2 little notches right there. One's there, one's there. So that gives me my depth right there. There's my tenon size. That was my second S. My last S is the tenon shape. This particular jug, big mark, has dovetails on it. And these things, if you can see them right here, you'll see they're an angle. That's not a square right here. It's also an angle on the inside. It happens to be 77 degrees and not 90 degrees. So I want this right here to have a corresponding 77-degree angle so that this chuck catches it here and it also catches it here. So to do that, this tool right here is an old parting tool. That's 77 degrees. I just shortened it in your own bottom. 77 degrees. So if I have this tool in here, this part is parallel, I will have the perfect angle for this chuck to maximize this grip on the piece. What kind of tool is this? Cutting tool, scraping tool? Scraping tool. Has to be at center. Handle has to be up slightly, okay? Don't try and engage both sides at one time. That's too much. I'm just using one surface cut on. There. Now I've got my tenon shape. There's only one last thing to do. Took me a long time to discover this. When those 4 jaws grab the end of this piece of wood, it's going to compress these fibers to hold it. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Imagine a bunch of straws here that's grabbing, it's going to compress them. I don't really want to crush them, because when I crush them, they lose their integrity. I want to compress them. The problem is right here, right there in that corner, these fibers are supported by this piece here that's going this way. When I grab them and I start to compress them, it's going to want to fracture these fibers this way. And for a long time, when I was turning bowls and I was just taking this tenon off the bottom of bowls, I had 4 little arcs there, and I took I sand them, it would sand out, I put a little finish on it, it'd be there, and I come back, I sand them again. You can't sand them out if you put them in. you have to come out here and part this off with about a quarter inch to get them out. So the way I found to not get them in the first place is to cut those fibers right there, where they're not attached to these fibers, really simple. Just same little tool, slide it around here like that, put a little groove right there like that, those fibers are no longer attached. Now if it crushes these fibers, compresses these fibers, or even crushes them slightly, I'm not gonna fracture these other fibers up in there. So let's see how we did. Anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah, Jack, is that, you don't want to crush those fibers for aesthetic reasons when you remove?
No, they're not as strong when you crush them. Okay? And if you crush them and you have to take this thing out of the chuck and put it back in the chuck, you're not going to be able to get it lined back up as well if you just compress them. If you look at a sharp jaw chuck, those jaws have those teeth. They're designed to crush into those fibers and hold it. I don't own any of those because I don't personally don't care for them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's what you like, you know. I prefer I think these are stronger, and I think I have less vibration in them when I'm turning a tall piece. If you put a 12-inch long piece in here, Elijah, and you don't have steady rest on it, and you're dependent on the mass of the chuck and stuff to hold it, and you crush those fibers, you're gonna have some vibration. Okay, who saw where I put the chuck key? Thank you. No, just so you know, I'm like this all the time, that's right. I'll never get it all together. Okay, let's see how we ended up on the fitting. If we get it right, this gap here should be a quarter inch or less. There it is. Okay. And you don't have to tighten extremely strong a lot. That'll knock it out of center, but barely. See it? If I get a massive catch on this piece, it's not going to come out. I've never had a piece in 20 years of turning come out of a chuck because it came out. I had a piece break the whole tenon off and stay in the chuck, but I never had a piece slip out. So that's actually pretty strong. See, pull the gap in right there. But I don't think you'll have a catch that bad. Questions on that? Yeah, Larry?
Jack, if you've got a piece of wood that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, you put it in, is there a particular reason why you turn it at the tailstock or the headstock in to turn your tenon?
Yeah. You got no room up here. You got your headstock in the way. It's a lot easier to work on this end. That's the reason you turn it over or something, you turn this side up, you flip it around, and you turn it down here. You try not to work up in here because you're cramped. So, yeah, go ahead, Don.
I agree.
Thank you.
Just wanted you to know.
Did you agree with everything or just some of it? You don't have to answer that.
Wait, Elijah.
Yeah, Elijah.
Do you ever use a skew on a side grain as long as you're going downhill?
How good are you?
I mean, not good,
You know that when you turn a bowl on side grain, when that grain comes around like that and catches that bowl gouge, you get that little rough cut right there and it's 180 degrees out. That's where it's pulling those fibers out instead of cutting them because they're going uphill instead of downhill. That's where I think your skew would just.
When do you default away from the tenon and go to an end plate? What size screws do you use?
Depends on how big the piece is. A face plate is probably the most secure thing you can turn on if you use the proper screws. You don't want a brittle screw like a drywall screw, they're too brittle. I use a self-tapping machine screw. I'm an Ace Hardware, and I think they're about number 12s. And I have several different lengths because I don't know how, I have some that are started about 3/4 of an inch and they go up to about 1.5 inches or so. So they're fairly expensive. They're like, 15, 26 a piece. You buy a dozen, 4 or 5 different sizes, and you got $3 in it. The biggest thing is, you lose them. So, or if you buy a regular self-tapping screws, they have a hex head on, Phillips head on, and I put it in with an impact driver, so after a while, I boot them all up. If you spend the extra money and you get them with a Torx bit head on, like you go to a 4-ring type screw that's really strong, they'll last a lot longer for you. You didn't like 4-ring screw? Other questions? Okay. I got off easy. Nobody got hurt. So, thank you everyone for coming.